Shelley loves everything about Yukon, especially Yukon High. In fact, she loves it so much that she wrote a letter to President Reagan telling him of her pride and spirit. And to this teenager's surprise, the president wrote back.
I didn't know if he would write me back or not because he's really a busy man, but I got the letter back last Thursday and I was really surprised that he wrote me back. You know, it showed that he cared. You know, he wrote back to me and I thought that was pretty neat.
Shelley says she didn't write the letter for herself. She wrote it for the Yukon community so that the president would know how wonderful they and their town are. She even extended an open invitation to Ronald Reagan to come see Yukon for himself. However, she doubts he'll come, being a busy man and all. But that doesn't mean the end of this pen pal correspondence. Shelley Clemmy is already planning to send the president a Christmas card. Sherry Sellers, Action 4.
In the past, it's been up to the county commissioners in this office to determine what purchases would be made in Oklahoma County and who would receive those contracts. But starting January 1st, that's all going to change.
Oklahoma County commissioners have approved the creation of a central purchasing department. Its purpose is to oversee purchases of equipment and materials for Oklahoma County. The plan is an attempt to make it harder for county commissioners to receive kickbacks.
If nothing else, this system is going to keep everything up and above board for the public to see. We're doing it on a bid basis where heretofore a county commissioner could go out anywhere he wanted to and pick up an item and run it through regardless of what the price might be.
The new system will require 3 bids made on any item costing over $1,500. That way the county will get the best item for the best price. Commissioners hope when the new department opens January 1st, it will save money as well as future embarrassments. Sherry Sellers, Action 4, the County Courthouse.
They're the ones that would be applicable if double selling. Thinking about the basically institutions.
Which are how many?
They're full, the jails are full, the district attorneys are prosecuting a lot of people, and we're going to try to meet the problem head on. That's why we've called this meeting.
Is action going to be able to be taken soon enough to not to jeopardize the relationship with the court?
Well, hopefully that's what we want to do. That's what this meeting is for, is to hopefully keep us out of contempt of court. One of the things we can do is go to Judge Bohannon. This has been suggested to the board by the director of the department, that perhaps we go to Judge Bohannon and say, can we double sell inmates in some of our institutions? We may be able to under the Supreme Court order that was issued earlier this year.
Lonnie Folsom says he got this battered face from 2 Oklahoma City police officers. He says the officers came to his house Friday night because they received word of a domestic dispute at his address. Folsom says both he and his wife assured the officers there was no trouble and asked them to leave. The police report says Folsom pushed the officers. Folsom denies it. In any event, he says the officers beat him with their flashlights until he was unconscious. His attorney, State Senator E. Melvin Porter, has asked the FBI to investigate and is filing a $10 million lawsuit against the city.
Mr. Folsom suffered a broken arm in 2 places, shattered cheekbone. He has 82 stitches on his head and face, a broken nose. He was taken to the hospital that night and was released from the hospital today. Today we went to the FBI. They took pictures of him and interviewed him. We filed a complaint against these police officers. I've talked to Bob Macy at the District Attorney's Office about the situation, and Mr. Folsom will be commencing a $10 million lawsuit against these officers and against the city of Oklahoma City.
Porter says no charges were filed against his client and neither officer was injured in the incident. He also says the department is conducting an internal investigation into the case. Ted Brown, Action 4.
Mr. Folsom, Friday night was...
We haven't even washed the Turkey Day dishes yet, nor eaten all the leftovers when suddenly Christmas is thrust upon us. You can tell because those vacant corner lots strategically placed around town are now being filled with Christmas trees. For Jim Anderson, this will be the 18th year of selling the greens.
This is the best crop of trees we've had. There's a lot of moisture up in Michigan where there's cut. Trees look good. The cost will be about 10% higher overall, primarily because of freight.
These fir trees are grown specifically for the Yule tide, and to keep 10 years of careful cultivation from dying within 10 days, Anderson suggests keeping the trees away from dry air and watering them to keep from drying out. Tony Stizza, Action 4.
If you like fighting traffic, looking for a parking place, and blending together with thousands of other people, today is the day to go shopping. It appears that everybody and his mother has converged on Quail Springs Mall and other local shopping centers. Simple Christmas arithmetic shows that thousands of shoppers equals thousands of dollars for merchants and retailers, unless you add the word recession to that equation. And then you have a lot of lookers, but not so many buyers. To convert some of those lookers into big spenders, many stores are having their post-Christmas sale before Christmas. However, some stores can't even sell merchandise at reduced prices.
They're a lot pickier this year than they were. You know, they're buying, but they're not buying like they were last year, unfortunately.
Why?
I think they're scared from what they've read and what they've heard.
Other stores have been more successful with Christmas sales and promotion.
We ran a lot of promotions this year, more than we did last year. Most everything in the store is on sale to bring the customers in. But it helped out a lot.
The overall sales picture is not that promising. As long as the recession continues, the lookers will always outnumber the spenders, even at Christmas time. Larry Otis, Action 4, Quail Springs Mall.
Well, we're hoping to get pledges or donations from people to help raise the reward, to help in either the safe return or information leading to the safe return of the girls. And hopefully, if the reward gets large enough, the right person out there, wherever, may hear it and may even make an anonymous phone call.
I felt for quite a little while that they were still here in the state, but since we haven't heard anything and have had no clues from within the state that I know of, I don't think they are now. But I'm quite certain that in my heart I feel like they're alive. Feeling about him at all, once they found he wasn't the right man, I just felt like we had wasted.
The meeting was an emergency measure to put an end to overcrowding in Oklahoma's prisons and county jails. A dramatic increase in the number of persons convicted in Oklahoma has surpassed the capacity levels in the state's correction facilities. County jails have been housing the extra inmates, but they now have no space. In fact, prisoners are sleeping on the floor. The problem's reached emergency levels, forcing corrections officials to come up with a solution. It took the board nearly 4 hours to approve a resolution to allow 2 persons per prison cell. This decision puts the department in possible contempt of court. U.S. District Court Judge Luther Bohannon has warned that double selling is unconstitutional. Director Meacham disagrees.
I do not believe that double selling per se is unconstitutional. It is a manageable constitutional situation. And I would prefer that the board give me direction that would at least keep me out of contempt of court. Now, I may be in a situation where the board would allow us to go to the court and to ask for some relief or to seek some other solution. Otherwise, we will get the numbers that we cannot deal with and will place us in automatic contempt of court, and I'd rather deal with the problem first rather than afterwards.
The resolution is only a temporary one. The Corrections Board will meet December 17th to decide on a long-range solution to bail out the overcrowded prison system. Sherry Sellers, Action 4.
The annual Easter pageant at the Holy City was being threatened with removal by the American Civil Liberties Union. The ACLU claimed the religious items on federal land violated concepts of separation of church and state. But a federal judge in Washington dismissed the suit today because he agreed with the government's argument that even though the people bringing the suit are taxpayers, no tax money was spent on the shrine. Local ACLU officials disagree with that opinion.
If citizens don't have a right to sue over government establishment of religion, then you could see where a president could order religious symbols be placed in every post office in the United States, and a citizen would not be allowed to voice objections to that establishment of religion by the government. So it's a serious and an important issue, and we'll take whatever action is called for to pursue the matter.
Further action against the shrine will probably take the form of an appeal to the U.S. 10th Circuit Court in Denver. Of course, that'll take time, so for a while at least, the Holy City stays where it is. Ted Brown, Action 4. The holiday season is the busiest time of the year for retail liquor dealers, but folks stocking up may not be getting the brands they like this season because of all those distillers who no longer do business in the state. That may tempt some to buy somewhere else, crossing the state line with their favorite forbidden brands. But that's illegal if you bring across more than a quart, and the ABC board may just be watching for you.
You could observe the person purchasing it in the state of Kansas, or you could have a Kansas ABC agent make the observation and contact our people, and when they entered the state of Oklahoma, we would have probable cause then to enter that person's vehicle, and that would be one way in which it could be done, and that may very well take place.
Crisp says he doesn't think much smuggling is going on, and a spot check with retail dealers bears him out. Out of 8 dealers we checked with tonight, all but one said business is up this season. The missing brands hasn't affected sales at all. Ted Brown, Action 4.
We'll be removing all the chemicals from the building. The chemicals are from past years, many no longer allowed in classrooms, now simply gathering dust in a storeroom. Some are possibly toxic, several are known to be dangerous, such as this explosive picric acid and this potassium cyanide used in gas chambers. A sweep was made to remove these chemicals from Oklahoma City schools last year. Apparently Northwest Classen was missed. This morning the chemicals were removed from the school. They will be taken to a salvage building in the east side of the city where other discarded chemicals are kept. An out-of-state company will remove all the chemicals from the building and dispose of them out of the state of Oklahoma. Sherry Sellers, Action 4.
Tell you how much I appreciate this award, and I hope that we can just continue to serve you in the best possible way, and I hope that you'll get up every morning and watch Action 4 a.m. from...
The first thing I knew was a great big burst of smoke up over in Fort Island, just over Maryland's bow. And the next thing I knew, I saw this aircraft with the side up, and I saw the dots on the wings, the round. I said, they're not red, they're orange. And the war was on. And then my quarters, my general quarter station is just a deck below in the conning tower, so I dropped down there. And from then on, why, I logged. I kept the log, quartermaster, trying to keep track of everything that was going on and trying to see too. And I think the funniest thing about the whole thing was we were inside 18 inches of solid armor wearing tin helmets. And every time I think about that, why, that kind of makes me feel funny.
Jerry Mullins took off last Saturday on what was to be a 12,000-mile, 96-hour, record-breaking, non-stop flight. But his specially built aircraft, the Phoenix, was plagued by stiff winds and a faulty automatic pilot. So Mullins ended the flight about 2 o'clock this afternoon at Will Rogers World Airport. He managed to break one record, however, for distance covered in a closed circuit.
It was a record for closed circuit distance traveled. The old record was in the neighborhood of 8,900 miles, and I went 10,400. The airplane's of a type that you're busy flying it, busy doing things, so I wasn't really bored. And the last day, the weather was so nice, I just looked out the window all the way back.
Mullen says he's too tired to think of trying for the record again, even though he's convinced the Phoenix is capable of making the full 12,000 miles. He says he'll think about taking her up again after he gets some sleep. Ted Brown, Action 4 at Will Rogers World Airport.
New Yorkers account for 190 gallons of water per person per year, and they import it farther than most, 100 miles. In Houston, they pump water. They pump so much water, the city is sinking. Some homes in the Baytown area are waterlogged and abandoned. They pump so much water in Florida, the land is settling. Suddenly, the water supporting it is gone. So are some of the homes on that land. But the largest group of water users are the farmers. No matter your favorite vegetables or fruits, the odds are it was grown in California's fertile Central Valley. What was once a desert is now a garden, an irrigated garden. Most water in California is used for irrigation. There are no controls on the use of groundwater there. At least the water is used to feed people. On the high plains, where irrigation is the difference, much of the crop is used to feed cattle. The enormous pool of water under high plains states, the water that makes agriculture profitable there, that water will start to run dry in a few years. It's already begun to run dry in Oklahoma. 40% of the cattle fed in America are fed here, and to do it, the ranchers are using up the largest known underground pool of fresh water, the Ogallala Aquifer. The Ogallala stretches through 6 states, Texas to Nebraska, and the day will come when the wells will run dry.
I agree. Hydrologists tell us that we're getting about 1/2 of 1 inch recharge per year. And when we're pumping out 20 inches a year and we're getting only half, it doesn't take a smart man to figure out we're going to run out, does it?
Farmers have already begun to use up about half the water in the Ogallala Aquifer. Experts warn that in 40 years it will all be gone. We all know what water means to agriculture, and we all know how much the U.S. depends on agriculture. It is the single largest item in the U.S. balance of trade with the foreign nations. When the High Plains farmers finally exhaust the Ogallala, they propose a California style of solution, pipelines and reservoirs, importing water from neighboring states at a cost of billions.
We know it'll be expensive, but if my grandson is hungry, I don't ask what it costs. I say, can I get it?
The rising cost of energy could compel the more efficient use of irrigation techniques. Farmers could make better use of water. Row and furrow and flood irrigation use far more water than necessary. These types of irrigation rigs are far more efficient. But putting the water on crops through drip nozzles rather than spray heads would save even more water. 2 things are clear. Solving our water problems will take a long time and lots of money. In total, the solution to the water problem will be the biggest public works project in anybody's history.
The Orange County, Florida School Board recently lost a federal suit filed by a teacher seeking back pay for unpaid time that she was away from the school building to breastfeed her child. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that a mother's interest in breastfeeding her child is entitled to constitutional protection, and that the school's refusal to allow her to feed the child during non-duty time of a school day violates those constitutional rights. Noting that the Supreme Court had long recognized that a parent's interest in nurturing and rearing their children deserves special protection against state interference, the court said that among these protected liberties are individual decisions respecting marriage, procreation, contraception, abortion, and family relationships. The court did not address the issue of breastfeeding the child on school property, but whether or not the teacher's pay could be docked for leaving the school during the day to feed the child. For Action 4, this is Ray Vaughn with Legal Briefs. A viewer says, I recently got behind in my monthly payments on my pickup truck. The credit company demanded payment or the delivery of my truck, both of which I refused. Then, while I was in jail on a domestic complaint, they repossessed the truck from my driveway, and it had all my fishing equipment inside. Can they do that? The Oklahoma Uniform Commercial Code does provide for repossession by a secured party when you, the buyer, default on your sales contract. This applies, however, only to the collateral given to secure the loan, which in this case was your pickup truck. Any personal items in the truck should be returned to you upon demand, since the credit company has no right to your fishing equipment. For Action 4, this is Ray Vaughn with Legal Briefs. A viewer writes in and says, I understand that a check made out to cash is the same as money, and anyone can cash it. Is that true? Under the Uniform Commercial Code and other Oklahoma law, a check, in order to be a valid instrument, must be payable to the order of some person or to the bearer, or in other words, the holder of the check. If payable to the bearer, the check is cashed simply by delivery and does not require any endorsement. A check payable to the order of some person, such as payable to the order of John Doe, must not only be delivered but also endorsed by John Doe. Therefore, a check payable to cash is a bearer instrument, and no endorsement is necessary to cash such a check when it is properly signed by the owner of the checking account. For Action 4, this is Ray Vaughn with Legal Briefs.
The Peace Marchers are comprised mostly of Japanese monks. They are carrying a spiritual message as they make their way to their destination of New York in June of next year. In firm belief that there is a possibility of nuclear war, the monks have set off in 4 directions around the world in a march for peace. Their leader, speaking with the aid of an interpreter, said the situation in Poland is of increasing importance because of the possibility of nuclear war.
The whole world, the whole people are threatened by the final destruction of humanity, not only Poland, but all over the world. So we have to combat today the policy depending on violence or power to the policy of peace. Otherwise, we have no future.
The Peace Marchers stopped at Will Rogers Park for lunch. They plan to walk 12 miles today. The monks have traveled to Russia, Nigeria, Europe. In fact, one European woman is traveling with them. She said her country has seen the scars of war firsthand. She says America should not think itself immune from destruction.
America shouldn't believe it would be untouched. That even if the trouble started from European territory, they knew where the attack came from, and it would get its share. And that's why I'm here. I want to tell the people, take care, we're all in the same boat, and please stand up as we in Europe stand up against the thing to stop this war before it stops us, you know.
And so it is that these people have left their jobs, their homes, friends, and family to come to places like Oklahoma and let their spiritual message be heard.